Guys, I keep seeing you make this mistake when it comes to planning your future, and it has got to stop. I cannot see you waste your potential like this. When I talk to people, especially young people, about their future, when it comes to like career planning or planning your basically what will you do? What will you do with your life? I see one mistake so many times. I just need to make a video about this because doing this, and it seems like a pretty innocent mistake, but doing this honestly keeps you stuck and may have you falling behind in ways that will be very hard to catch up on later. So listen up. Here's the mistake. When I ask someone, what do you want to do for a living? Like, what's your career plan or business plan? What are your goals? Here's what it sounds like. There are basically three versions of this. One version is the career as an employee version, where the answer will be something like, well, I would like to have a job maybe in middle management. I'd like to run a small team, not too big. I'd like really good pay, good perks. And I'd like to either work in a very cool city or maybe work remote. And, I don't want the work to be too hard. Basically, I don't want to be like super stressful, but I do want to get paid well because I want to have freedom and I want to travel and so on. Here's version number 2. This is the entrepreneur, freelancer, business version of this. It goes, well, I want my agency or e-commerce store or website or whatever to make 10K a month or 50K a month or 100K a month or whatever it is. And I want it to be mostly passive. I don't want to be doing too much work on that. So I want to be delegating and have other people handle the day-to-day affairs. I want it to be pretty much hands-off and automated. And, once I have this kind of income, I can live the lifestyle I want because I really want to travel. And, I don't want to be on the grind. I don't want to do the 9 to 5. I don't want to be in a rat race. So I really just want to take this e-commerce thing or this SaaS thing or whatever to this revenue level. And I want to have that freedom and I want to be my own boss. I really don't want to have someone else like breathing down my neck and telling me what to do. I want more freedom than that and so on. And here's version number 3 of this story. Very popular one. I want to be an influencer. I want to have millions of followers. I want to have all these sponsorship deals so that, when I drop a new video or make a new post, I get millions of views and I get loads of money. I get all the ad revenue money plus all the sponsorship money. And I can have like the travel lifestyle and I can have the freedom and I don't have to have my own boss and I can do my own thing. That's what I want. All these 3 stories are the exact same story and they all have the exact same problem. The problem is it does not answer the question of what are you going to do? You're just listing perks. You're just listing stuff that you would like. And sure, I'd like a bunch of stuff too. 100K a month, fully passive, and I don't have to do anything. Sounds great. Travel, lots of fun. Let's do more of that. Living in cool cities, doing cool stuff, being your own boss, having freedom. All of that is great, but you're just listing perks. And guess what? Everybody wants that. And by the way, if you add some more details to it, it's still not a plan. And here are the 3 problems with this that can keep you stuck in a really serious way. So first of all, like we said, you're just listing perks. You're just listing stuff that everybody would like to have because it's super nice. And therefore, there is no competitive advantage in this. Like everybody would like a cushy job that pays well and has loads of perks. But the way you get that job is that you have to deliver some form of value that makes your employer go, okay, you're worth all of that. So you just wanting that does not give you a competitive advantage. Number 2, this lack of a plan does not help you orient in any specific direction. And I see this a lot, especially among wannabe entrepreneurs, where you basically go, look, I just want to make this money, and maybe it's drop shipping, maybe it's e-commerce, maybe it's making my own app, maybe it's some AI startup. I don't know, and I don't care. Just tell me how to make this money. But see, the problem is, if you're here and you're just thinking about the money and all the freedom and advantages, and that's your motivation, I'd like loads of money. And there's someone else over here and they're absolutely obsessed with this new technology, or they're absolutely obsessed with copywriting. And they're just practicing and testing and learning so much, and they're getting so good at it that eventually they can make this sales page that just absolutely crushes it. They have a massive competitive advantage over you because guess what? If you're super good at copywriting, you can turn that into a business that makes all this money. And that's just one example. Every successful business is basically some variation of this. Someone got into how do I solve this problem, or how do I get super good at this one thing, and eventually got so good at it that they could turn it into a business. If you're just thinking about the money, how are you going to compete against those people? This is why it's so important to get clear about what you're curious about. What are your natural alignments? Where can you orient towards, where you can start building key skills, building high value skills, start getting really good at solving problems. And then from that, as a consequence, as a side effect of that, you are in a position where you can have a great career or a great successful business. Now, if that's new to you, check out my video about how to stop wasting your life by starting to follow your curiosity. And I'll link to that in the description. And finally, with the influencer, it's basically the same thing, right? Of course, you want all the followers and you want all the sponsorship money and so on, but how are you going to get it? You're only going to get it by having a competitive advantage, and being the 5,000th Mr. Beast knockoff is probably not going to do that. Start looking at people who are successful at the kinds of things you want to be successful at, and start noticing how they're all really into something that isn't money. And the money is actually a side effect of how into that they are. And you know what's funny? When it comes to successful influencers, the best among them are people who have a real business, and the social media stuff they do is kind of just the media arm of that business. Because as it turns out, when you are completely reliant on ad money and sponsorship money, it's an absolute grind. People who are in that situation hate it. Problem number 3 is that even if this plan were somehow to work out, you would only discover that you don't actually want what you thought you wanted. Look, let's say by some coincidence, you get into like a super cushy government job where you're working in some office and you're in a super inefficient system where, you get some task, you get the task done in like 45 minutes, and then there's a million steps of approvals and meetings and whatever, and basically nothing moves forward. And because they're just like on this fixed government budget and you're part of that budget, nobody really cares whether you're actually productive or not. And so you just get to sit there and do nothing most of the day, most days, and you get paid well. What would happen? This sounds good for like 2 weeks, maybe. And then you realize that you're spending all of your time like doom scrolling on social media and trying to distract yourself and just being bored out of your mind. If you actually had that cushy job and the easy money that most people talk about and say they want, you would realize that you would be longing for something meaningful to do before long. And really, it would just put you back to the problem you have right now, where you have to figure out, what do I actually want? What am I actually curious about? What problem do I want to solve? And start moving your life in that direction. So there you have it. This is why the way lots of young people talk about what they'd like to do for a living is really leading nowhere and is just keeping you stuck. And look, I get it. Of course, you want passive income and freedom and travel and all this kind of stuff. That makes total sense. And I want that for you too. I think most of us come from a place where you realize the lack in your own life. You're like, well, I hate not having freedom and I hate being broke and I want to solve those problems. Like, that's top of mind. But this is the thing, you have to realize that the solution to those problems are like downstream. They're step 2 in a process where step 1 is figuring out what you can get really good at. And trying to skip past that step and get straight to the money is one of the most common reasons why people fail at building a good, meaningful career or a successful business. So if you want to know more about how to actually do that, and if you're not sure where your interests lie, check out my other video about how to follow your curiosity. I'll link that in the description. And if you have any questions or comments about this, go ahead and leave a comment below. I try to reply to them all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe for more like this. That's all, and I'll see you in the next one.